At first, it was just the sound, a single, hollow knock, somewhere in the silence of the early evening. The kind of knock that doesn't ask permission, it warns, it waits, and then it pulls you in. Emily froze. She wasn't supposed to be. Outside the street was empty, the sun already bleeding into the trees behind her, but something had caught her eye. A little girl, pale, barefoot, just standing in front of the old house at the end of the street, number 17 Maple Lane. No one, who had lived there for 40 years. The windows were boarded. The grass had long swallowed the porch, and everyone in Ashfield knew you never go near that house. But Emily couldn't look away. The girl was knocking once, twice. Then she turned her head and looked straight at Emily. "Come here," the girl said. Her voice sounded distant, like it came from under the floorboards. "She wants to see you." Emily's chest tightened. She didn't even know why she was moving. Each step toward the house felt wrong, like she was being pulled forward by something that had waited for her. Mrs. Tilly Grange watched it all from her second-floor window. Her hands trembled. Her voice whispered prayers to herself. Not again. Not another one. But it was too late. Emily had reached the porch. The girl had vanished. Only the door remained. Still shut. Still sealed. But there were fresh scratch marks near the handle. Fingernail deep, recent, and then knock, knock, knock. The sound came again. But it wasn't Emily. It came from inside the house. Emily stepped back, breath shaky. Her instincts screamed. But her hand reached out anyway. Her fingers touched the doorknob. It turned on its own. And from the gap in the doorway, a breath of icy air hissed out, whispering her name in a voice only she could hear. Emily. Something inside the house knew her. Knew she would come. And now, the door was open just enough for something to watch her. To wait. Asterisk, the door didn't creak. It exhaled. Like something behind it had been holding its breath for decades. And now, with Emily standing there, it finally let go. She didn't step in. She couldn't. The air spilling from the gap was thick, wet. It smelled like burnt hair and rotting sugar. Her knees trembled, and her stomach turned cold. Then a small hand gripped hers. Emily gasped. The little girl was beside her again. White, dress, skin like candle wax. She looked up with dark, wet eyes. "She wants you to see," the girl said, and then she walked right in. No fear, no hesitation. The door opened wider for her, as if it remembered her steps. Emily followed. She didn't understand why, but her legs moved on their own, like strings tied to her bones had been pulled. Inside the house was not abandoned. Not really. The furniture was still there, but melted, twisted. Black soot carved handprints into the walls. The floorboards creaked in pain. And somewhere deep inside, a slow piano played one broken note, over and over and over again. Emily turned to ask the girl where they were going, but she was gone. Instead, down the hallway, the door to the cellar stood open. A soft light flickered from within. Then came the whisper, a woman's voice, sickly sweet, like lullabies sung underwater. "Down here, sweetheart. Don't be shy." Emily's breath caught in her throat. Her hand reached for the wall, but instead of cold wood, she touched something warm, soft. She looked. There were fingerprints, small, bloody ones, trailing across the wallpaper, and then she heard the knock. Again, from upstairs. This time it came with footsteps, heavy ones, slow. Descending the staircase at the end of the hallway, she turned to run, but behind her, the front door had vanished, not closed, gone, like it had never existed. And the voice from the cellar grew louder, closer. "Come see what she made for you, Emily." Tears welled in her eyes. This wasn't a house. It was a trap, a thing that pretended to be home, and now it had her. Then the girl in white reappeared, hanging upside down from the ceiling. She looked directly into Emily's eyes. "She won't let you leave until you remember what you did." Emily screamed, but the house swallowed the sound whole. Asterisk, it started humming. Not a song, not a voice, but the house itself. A low, rattling hum like an animal trying to breathe through broken ribs. Emily clutched her chest. The sound burrowed into her bones, vibrating under her skin. Each note felt like a memory trying to claw its way out of her body. She stumbled toward the front hallway. There was no door, no escape, only the dark entrance to the cellar, and that sickly yellow light flickering like a dying heartbeat. Then the stairs creaked. 1, step 2, 3, something was coming up. Not rushing though. It wanted her to wait, to stand there, to let it rise and rise, until they were face to face. Emily ran. She darted into a side room, what used to be a nursery. Stuffed animals stared from blackened shelves. A music box lay open on the floor, spinning without a tune. In the corner, the little girl in white stood facing the wall. Emily whispered, "What is this place?" The girl didn't turn. She raised a trembling arm and pointed at the crib. Inside it, something moved. Emily inched closer. The blanket inside twitched. Something was breathing underneath. Her fingers reached forward. Slow, careful. She pulled the blanket back, and what she saw made her collapse to her knees. It was her own face. Eyes wide open, mouth sewn shut, pale and cold, but breathing like it had been waiting for her to come back and see what she left behind. Then the knock came again. This time right outside the nursery door. It wasn't a knock. Really, it was claws, tapping, scraping. The door creaked open slowly, revealing nothing but thick black fog. And from within it, a hand reached through. Too long, too thin. Bones stretched under waxy skin. It crawled across the floor like a spider, fingers cracking with every step. Emily screamed. She grabbed a music box and threw it, but it shattered against the wall with a child's giggle. The girl in white turned her head slowly. Her eyes were hollow. She whispered, "She's almost here. You need to remember, before she takes your name to—" Emily crawled backward, heart racing. Who is she? The ceiling above them cracked. Dust fell like ash, and then the house laughed. Low, wet mocking. And the cellar door downstairs slammed open with a force that shook the entire house. Then came the voice again, louder now, so close it felt like it came from inside Emily's own head. Come down, little girl. I made you something." Emily looked at the girl one last time, but the girl was gone. And in her place, on the crib's mattress, was a note, burnt at the edges, written in red. "You promised you'd never forget. But you did, and now you'll never leave." The air inside the house shifted. It wasn't just cold anymore. It was alive. It pressed down on Emily's shoulders like invisible hands, whispering with every breath she took. She could feel it, watching, waiting. Her hands trembled as she clutched the note. The red ink was still wet. It smeared across her, fingers like blood. From the hallway, a new sound echoed. Children. Dozens of them, laughing, crying, whimpering, toward the cellar. The door was wide open now, and from the darkness below, those voices rose, blending into a single broken chorus. "Emily, Emily, come play with us. You left us down here." Her throat tightened. She didn't remember any of this. She couldn't, but her feet moved again, drawn toward the steps like they were made of gravity. Each step down creaked louder than the last. The temperature dropped. She could see her breath now, white in the dark, and halfway down the staircase, she saw her, the woman, standing at the bottom of the cellar, dressed in black, skin cracked like old porcelain, eyes missing. But she smiled wide, wet, and wrong. "Come closer, sweetheart," the woman croaked. "I've been waiting such a long time." Behind her, the basement stretched into an impossible hallway, far too long for the size of the house, and on both walls, handprints, children's handprints. Thousands of them layered over each other like a mural of forgotten pain. Emily took one step, then another. She didn't know what she was walking into, but she knew she had to. The woman turned and vanished into the hallway. Emily followed. The air grew thicker. The floor was soft. It felt like walking on skin. Then she heard the music, boxed again, a slow, warbling version of the same lullaby from the nursery. It echoed from a doorway at the end of the corridor. She stepped inside, and there, on the wall, were dozens of framed photographs, but every photo was of her, not the girl she was now, but versions of her in different clothes, different decades, different lives. She stared at one marked 1974. In it, she stood barefoot, holding the same music box, in front of this very house. "No," she whispered, "that can't be me." Then she heard the girl in white again, this time from behind her. "You've been here before, so many times. You always forget. That's why she keeps bringing you back." Emily turned, but the girl wasn't there. Only her voice. "She took your name. And now, she's almost ready to wear your face." Suddenly mirrors shattered around her. The light died, and from the dark hallway behind her came the slow, wet sound of something crawling, slapping against the floor. Emily backed away. The shadows moved, and from the darkness, a shape rose, grotesque and tall, built from stitched-together pieces of something once human. It had no eyes, but it could see her. It had no face, but it smiled. And in its chest, Emily saw her own reflection. It whispered, "Give me back my name." Then it lunged. The thing came at her like a flood of shadows, arms writhing, legs snapping backward, teeth along its throat. Emily screamed and ran, feet pounding across the flesh-soft floor of the basement. The hallway behind her seemed to stretch and twist, walls closing in, ceiling breathing. Every turn led to another corridor, another room. Another version of herself. One room showed her as a teenager, hands pressed against the mirror, crying. Another her as a child, laughing beside the girl in white. And in the last one she saw herself standing still, eyes black, staring straight at her through the glass. That version smiled. Emily kept running, but the hallway began to ripple. The ground bubbled beneath her like boiling skin, and in the distance, she heard the voice again, the woman calling her name. "Emily, Emily, let me in." She crashed into a door at the very end. It was different, clean white, like it didn't belong in the house, and on it written in red were the words, "The only way out is through what you forgot." Her hands shook as she reached for the handle, but behind her, the monster's limbs slithered closer, dragging itself over the floor like a broken marionette, its voice hollow and hungry. "Remember what you promised." Emily pushed open the door. Inside, a room, simple, small, a crib, a window, a dresser, and on the wall, drawings, children's drawings, of the girl in white, of the house, of the fire. One drawing showed her family, a mother, a father, and a small girl. Then, a second page, the same family, but the girl was crossed out in red. Emily stared. Memories began to flood back. Smoke screaming, a locked door, and her own hand holding the match. No, I didn't. But she had. Long ago, she had lived here. She had burned it all down. And before the flames took her too, she had whispered a promise. I'll forget everything. Just let me go. The woman's voice filled the room. You did, but I didn't. I kept your name warm for you, Emily. The walls cracked. The floor split open. The house howled like a dying animal. Emily ran to the window, but there was no outside, only blackness. She turned around. The girl in white was there. Her dress was now soaked in ash. Her eyes in Emily's eyes. You or me, the girl said. No, Emily whispered. You were what I left behind. The girl smiled, sad and broken. Then she walked toward the door, opened it, and behind it was sunlight, trees, wind, the real world. Emily stepped forward, but the girl stayed. This is your chance, she said. But if you ever forget again, she'll come back. Emily nodded. She stepped through. The air changed, warm, clean, and behind her the house slammed shut, gone. Only grass remained. A knock echoed faintly from deep underground, but no door stood there now, just silence, just the name she finally remembered, and could never run from again.